All right, good afternoon, everyone. Just before we get started, can you guys confirm you can hear me okay everywhere? All right, cool. Okay. All right, so good afternoon. Good to see a lot of familiar faces out here today. For those who don't know me, my name is Musa. I'm a senior product manager at Geotab. My team handles bringing or hand-holding all product development, whether it being hardware or software or new rate plans or service offerings to market, to our resellers and customers alike. And we run basically products through the whole process within Geotab, making sure that all the different teams are involved at the right time. And we're also heavily involved in the launch planning in the last few weeks before a product is announced. So what I'll be doing here today is basically just giving you some more information on some of the items that Neil addressed or mentioned in his keynote speech this morning. So a lot of what you'll hear today, you've heard earlier today, but I'll just be giving you some more information on it, and we'll be able to take some questions at the end of the session as well. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is a product that we launched a few months ago. It's an add-in on the marketplace that Geotab championed. We worked with a partner of ours, Rapito, to bring this to you and to our customers through the marketplace. And before I get into the details of that, if you do have any questions on this topic, we do have a kiosk on this. It's hosted by Valeria, who is a member of the product team as well. So feel free to walk over to that kiosk and ask any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask me about here. She might also be able to show you a video or a demo of how it works. So what is Geotab Roadside? It's basically roadside assistance within My Geotab. It's basically, like I said, an add-in that we developed with a service provider called Rapito, and we host on the marketplace. It's basically roadside assistance from within My Geotab, either the application or Geotab Drive. Obviously, you have to have the right kind of access through Geotab Drive as a driver to be able to do that. But with the right level of access, which you can change or set through My Geotab, you can give your drivers the ability to request a service from their vehicle, which means almost immediate assistance to the vehicle and to the driver. So when a service is requested through My Geotab, you'll be able to see the app kind of request more details on the vehicle. You're obviously selecting the vehicle from a list of devices that are in the database. And when you do that, it asks you for some more information, such as the color of the vehicle. If it's unable to decode this information from the VIN, there is some information that it will determine automatically based on the VIN number that it pulls from the database. Things like, for example, whether the vehicle is light duty versus medium duty versus heavy duty, and we'll see why that is important in a second. Then a service provider is dispatched. First, it looks for the most appropriate service provider in the region, and then a service provider is dispatched to you, and you'll be able to, at that point, monitor the progress of that trip, of the service provider. You'll be able to see them on a map and an ETA of their arrival, and the app will continue to update throughout, even after, let's say you requested a tow. You'll be able to kind of still, as a dispatcher, monitor the progress of that tow up until the vehicle is delivered to its destination. Some details on how that works. So like I said, it's seamless integration with My Geotab. We have integrated with basically Rapito's entire service provider network, them and their providers. There's 45,000 different service providers that you have access to from within My Geotab and Geotab Drive. And the service is currently available in the US and Canada only. But the good news is that once you qualify, and to qualify for the service, obviously your fleet, you have to be, or your database has to have fleet-wide utilization of the Pro Plus plan. Once you do, and that's determined automatically by My Geotab, you are able to go into the add-in, and if you are requesting service for a light-duty vehicle, certain services are complimentary. We'll see that in a second. If not, if you are a medium-duty or a heavy-duty vehicle and you still want those services, you could still request them and pay for them using your credit card through the application. So again, this is available in the US and Canada for all customers utilizing the Pro Plus plan at a database-wide level. And these are the services I hinted at earlier. So towing up to 25 miles for light-duty vehicles is covered, is free, basically. Anything beyond 25 miles, even for light-duty vehicles, is paid through the app. And then battery boost, fuel delivery, flat tire change, and lockout service and winching is all included. Again, for light-duty vehicles only. And this slide here shows you basically the progression that I discussed earlier. You can pull up the list of all vehicles and select the vehicle. You'll be able to see the ETA of the service provider, and then continued updates from within the app, either on your phone or in My Geotab, until the service is completed. And not only that, but after the service is completed, you can also go and send a rating or kind of give us immediate feedback from within the app as a driver as to how that service request went. This is very important to us and to our partner Rapido, so we encourage you to encourage your customers to use that as it gives us immediate feedback on a basically call-by-call basis, and allows us to continue to improve our service throughout. And yeah, so for those who haven't experienced it, please go to the marketplace. Even if you don't want to use it, to download the add-in, it's free. So if you have a number of devices that are on Pro Plus, you can separate them out in a different database and test it out. To learn more, you can go to the marketplace.geotab.com/roadside. Not only can you install the add-in from there, but there's also a number of documentation that we maintain for you, such as a user guide and other marketing material that you can use. Let me see if I can play this video quickly over here for those who haven't seen it. Do we have audio? Let me see. Okay, well, I guess it'll be a silent video. So this is the driver realizing he has an issue with the van, pulls out, pulls over, and checks it out, figures out there's nothing he can do about it, goes straight into his phone, makes a call, very easy, continues to get notification updates until the truck is there and beyond. All right, so another thing I want to talk to you today about is another feature that we announced recently. You can also discuss this or get a demo or ask some more questions about it at the same kiosk. Valeria will be able to answer those questions at the roadside kiosk. And this is privacy mode. Privacy mode is basically a feature that we implemented, and it was motivated by our European market mostly. Somewhat related to GDPR, but obviously, it doesn't necessarily define all of GDPR or meet all of the GDPR requirements, but it's definitely one of the steps that would help in achieving that compliance. What you'd be able to do with privacy mode is basically tie your vehicle to rules, within our rules exception rules engine within My Geotab, and determine when to hide your GPS data from the UI. You'll be able to do that, or associated with with certain work hours. Let's say you want to hide your GPS data when after hours, after 5 p.m., or when you are inside or outside certain zones. And this is not to be confused with personal versus business. So we see that as a different use case. There are use cases where you still want to differentiate between business versus personal, where the data is still kind of accessible through the UI in both cases. But this is us hiding your GPS information for a temporary period of time in the UI. How is this controlled? Obviously, by default, only admins in MyGeotab have the ability to utilize this feature. However, the admin can then go into our security clearances engine and expand or grant access to this feature to their users, to their other users or other drivers. This is this is something that you can do also again in MyGeotab or in Geotab Drive. So the drivers themselves can put themselves in private mode if granted that access from their administrator. And the data itself is not so we just want to make sure that everyone understands. In this case, the data itself is logged by the device. So the device is still, you'll still see the GPS LED on the Go device go off. This is a setting in MyGeotab, not on the device itself. The data still comes through and is processed by the database and by the server for multiple reasons. We still want the data to come through for reasons such as maintaining odometer values and and other information that comes through to us from the GPS, such as date and time and other critical information. But then when you go and try to run a trips report, for example, or find the location on the map, that information is hidden from the user from within the UI. But it is still there, and the reason is that we want to be able to, in scenarios such as accidents, for example, we still want to be able to give you the ability to get access to accident-type data, for example. And right now, this is limited to us at Geotab. We'd be able to assist with something like that if you give us the serial number and the time and date when something happened, we can assist with that. And because the data is being logged, because the data is actually there, and if you have a specific requirement that the data must not be there, we have built this into, or we support that through our purge functionality. So, we've always had this functionality in MyGeotab where you can purge certain types of data, and we added another type called private data purge, and then you can schedule how often your private data gets purged. So anything that is hidden gets purged. Anything else that wasn't hidden, with that setting remains in the database and is safe.
Sure. Question on that. Yeah. In privacy mode, if you have rules set to identify driver behavior events to establish a driver score, are the events during privacy mode still feeding into the report for driver score, or are they eliminated from?
It depends. If they are reliant on Latin long or location data, I wouldn't expect them to work as you would expect today. But we'd have to look at the case individually. I would say, if you can maybe engage with us and we can help you set up a test to just verify. We haven't, if you go to some of the documentation that we made available, we identified, what reports and what some of the basic functionality that won't work as expected or as always worked. We've identified that all in the user guide that we put together. But if there is a use case or a corner case that we haven't really identified, we can always add to it. But good question. So the three ways to do this, as I hinted, is one is the most obvious one is through the exception rules. If you were engaged with us during the beta period of this product, the way we used to do it is you would have to create a group and put a certain string in the group name, and then set up a rule to move vehicles in and out of that group when they break a certain exception, and that would make them either private or not private. After beta, we worked on improving that and making it more seamless and easier, and we've developed basically a notification type. Just like when you go and set up a rule, you select the privacy mode notification type, and what that does is it puts your device in private mode. And just keep in mind, though, when you are setting up an exception rule, you have to set up an exception rule to put the device in private mode and a different one to take it out of private mode. So you would have to do the reverse for every use case. But you can do it manually, not directly through the UI, unless you install an add-in that we are maintaining on the marketplace. That add-in is available today on the marketplace. Again, it's something that was developed by Geotab and is available to anyone free of charge. But it's not integrated within. It's not part and parcel of the MyGeotab application. It's an add-in. and with the right security clearances issued to your drivers, they can also get access to it. It's the same add-in. Once you install it in My Geotab, it should appear for the drivers in Geotab Drive, as long as they have the right security clearances. All right, another one that we announced a few months ago also, and quite a bit of marketplace updates here. This one is the marketplace buy now. Essentially, it's the ability to not only one-click install an application off the marketplace, but if it's a build install, if it's a build type of solution, you're able to purchase it through the marketplace and basically get billed for it by Geotab directly. What this does is it eliminates, the lengthy and complicated negotiations between yourself and the reseller and the partner and Geotab. It eliminates all of this, this convoluted way of getting access to a particular solution and simplifies the billing. So you click, you click buy now, literally, through the marketplace to install it into your database. It gets installed. From there, you can, depending on the type of solution, we can do either per database billing, monthly billing, or per vehicle billing. And in the case of per vehicle billing, you configure that through the app itself. So you select the vehicles that you want the billing to apply to, and that comes through on your end of the month bill from Geotab as a reseller. So the reseller then basically pays Geotab, and the customer pays the reseller, and Geotab then remits payment to the Geotab partner, on a pre-negotiated price. You do have the option as a reseller to opt your customer from this functionality. There's actually two different ways of doing it. You can, you've always had the ability to kind of opt out of a specific marketplace solution through My Admin. But if you don't want to opt out completely, but you just want to opt out of buy now, you'd rather do the agreement with your customer directly or with the partner directly, you can still do that by opting out of the buy now functionality alone. So again, there are maybe 4 or 5 different buy now solutions today. It is limited to software solutions. You may have seen on one of Neil's slides this morning, he mentioned hardware buy now. That is something that we are actively working on. We're hoping to bring to the marketplace, hopefully by the end of this year. But obviously hardware is a bit more complicated. There's a lot more considerations to take into account, warehousing, fulfillment, RMAs, and so on. So we're working with legal and finance and supply chain on all these details, and we hope to bring that to market soon. But for the time being, software buy now is available. If you are a solution provider and you're interested in buy now, speak to your business development manager on the marketplace side, or if you're a customer, speak to your reseller. And for more information, you can also read about it on marketplace.geotab.com/aboutmarketplace. Okay. And then ELD obviously was a big deal late last year and into this year. We have since also tried to solve for the problem of, you like a certain ELD application, such as Geotab Drive, for example, but you as a customer or reseller, you don't want to go through the hassle of figuring out what, who to get the connectivity from, how to control these and how to monitor these tablets. What is the best tablet for the fleet that you are, deploying to? So we wanted to give you basically an ELD solution in a package. We called it the Garmin ELD Bundle. It's a bundle that you can purchase through Geotab. It's a ruggedized Garmin Fleet 790 device, a connected Android product by Garmin, and it comes with a suction cup mount in the box that may or may not be ideal for your use case, and because of that, Garmin has worked with RAM mounts to also develop more ruggedized, more convenient mounts that we can give you some information on that. Just to be clear, though, the RAM mounts are not included in the package, but we do have information on them, and we can point you in the right direction. But the tablet itself is LTE connected with 3G fallback, so you don't have to worry about spotty LTE or 3G coverage. We're making it available in the US and Canada today. Any vehicles that are domiciled in the US and Canada, it's the same SKU that you order from us, and we're including 3-year device warranty in the purchase price of the bundle. So obviously you get all the features that are embedded within Garmin. It's got Bluetooth connectivity. It's got a forward-facing dual-purpose camera. So you can unplug the device and do your inspections or take pictures of certain damages to your vehicle. You get top-notch navigation and routing by Garmin, and you still got also because this is is bundled with Geotab Drive. You get all the Geotab Drive functionality, including ELD, DVIR, and messaging and sending routes down to the driver. So you still get the same kind of integration with Geotab Drive, but with the added functionality that comes built into the Garmin product. Some of you might wonder, is this available with an IOX, or do we provide an IOX with this product? Now, because this is mostly an ELD or a Geotab Drive solution, as a lot of you are already aware, our Geotab Drive solution is a cloud-based solution. So the connectivity is only needed for power right now, but it is also compatible with our IOX. So if you order an IOX Garmin from us for added FMI or Garmin functionality, it's fully compatible. It's just extra, or it's bought separately.
Is this truck navigation?
Yes. So you can select the profile, whether you're a vehicle or a truck, and you can get different types of navigation through the product. Now, how are we doing this? So obviously because we're putting we're staging this with a SIM card that's provided by Geotab, we're not really limiting the amount of data that we're allowing you to spend or use on this product. However, what we are limiting today is what you can do in terms of third-party applications. Today, it's strictly a Geotab Drive solution. It solves for the problem and simplifies the issue of just ordering one product with connectivity and with troubleshooting access. We do that through an MDM, a mobile device management solution. Some of you might be familiar with them. They're called SOTI. We don't currently give access to the customer and the reseller to the SOTI portal, and we can't really configure that. What we do with it is limit what you can do with the tablet. So we disable things like internet browsing, video, installation of third-party applications, uninstallation of Geotab Drive, and that's how we're able to allow that way you don't have to really worry about how much data is being consumed. At the end of the day, we've negotiated those rates with the carrier, and your drivers can just focus on getting their hours logged through Geotab Drive. But on that note, though, anything that's on the marketplace today that's compatible with Geotab Drive as an add-in is supported. So as long as it's built into Geotab Drive, as long as it's a feature that is either built into Geotab Drive or allowed on Geotab Drive through the marketplace, that is all supported.
No other apps are, like if the company used proof of delivery, needed to do a barcode scanner.
Yeah.
Any other app?
So I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so I know that's a very common question. It's a good question, but I'm getting to it in a second. So back to what is available today, as this has caused maybe some confusion. This is obviously a connected device, so it's got its own SIM card in it. Therefore, there are two rate plans involved here. On the Go device, this is supported on the HOS mode or Pro mode or Pro Plus mode. So regardless of what you are on, as long as you're not on base, you can use it. And that's the case today, even if you're not using the Garmin product, if you're using your own tablet. To get access to Geotab Drive, your Go device that's talking to that tablet has to be on the HOS mode or higher. However, on the Garmin side, you also have to have access to HOS mode. Now, the HOS mode for Garmin and for the Go device are priced differently, so these are not the exact same plan. But my admin, for those who are familiar, will handle that, so you don't have to really select a mode, but just note that more importantly on the Go device, you can be on either one of the three. So to your question, obviously we launched this a few months ago, and we've been on webinars where we've listened to your feedback, and during the beta period as well. One of the most common asks is, can I have this app or can I have that app? We first started, tried to track down, or tried to research what are some of the most common apps people are asking for. But we realized quickly that we're not going to be able to solve that problem without really creating a big headache for ourselves. Geotab we pride ourselves, especially the hardware is in making one product. Now, obviously, we have several SKUs that you've seen, but it's essentially one piece of hardware and one firmware code. And we wanted to continue doing that. So the way we are looking into solving this problem is by offering you, the reseller, and the customer the ability to customize what other third-party applications you want to put on the tablet. So Geotab grants you access to SOTI, the MDM, and then you as a reseller can then, from within your organization within SOTI, you can then create multiple customers, and then they would only have access to their organization, and they can upload and manage and deploy and updates to their third-party apps through SOTI and without Geotab's involvement. So we don't want to be a bottleneck. We don't necessarily want to support third-party applications. What we want to do is give you a platform to be able to do it. So that's what we are working with our partners, Garmin and SOTI, on building all the APIs that are necessary to achieve that. We have made great progress on that on our side as well, and the discussions continue. But one of the limitations today, and I don't want to say limitation, but definitely something that we would like to see and improve on is once we allow you access to third party, obviously the amount of data becomes more key for us to control. So I would expect this to come in the form of a different rate plan on the Geotab side. So if you still want the lockdown version, the cheaper version, you can still have that. But if you want to install your own apps, you'll be able to do that with a new plan. We're working out the pricing on that and the data limitations. But we'd also like to see and give you the ability to update your tablets or have your tablets updated seamlessly over the air without having to connect to Wi-Fi. Today, if you want to be able to, if say, Garmin adds new functionality or, you run into a bug, the updates on the software, both the software and the maps are Wi-Fi only. So we're working with Garmin to bring cellular updates at least to their software, if not the maps. The maps are still very huge. But we want to make cellular updates over the air available with this rate plan as well. So this is something that we are actively working on and pursuing. It's just a lot of detail and some APIs that hadn't been built or we felt are required that we are still finalizing with both Garmin and SOTI. And we expect to bring that to you before the end of the third quarter of this year. Hopefully sooner rather than later. In the meantime, again, marketplace.geotab.com/solutions, Geotab Garmin ELD bundle. There's an FAQ there. There's also a user guide and a support document that also gives you access to the more detailed Garmin Fleet 790 user guide. So there's the Geotab version, and from within there, we connect you to the more detailed, more comprehensive user guide by Garmin. Was there a question? Yeah. No, I'm saying the cable that's included in the box is for power only. It comes with the Garmin tablet, so it connects into the cigarette lighter adapter. But if you do choose to use an IOX, it's also compatible with the IOX. It doesn't give you much added functionality because you're already getting messaging and routing through Geotab Drive over the air anyway. You would typically need an IOX if you're using a non-connected Garmin device, like a Nuvi, for example, or say the 760, I think it's the Diesel 760. These are not connected devices, so you would use the IOX to send down routes and messages through the Go device to the tablet. No, that's a good point. Traffic, you need an IOX for. Yes. So we offer a no traffic IOX and a with traffic IOX. So for traffic, the tablet itself does support traffic, but you do need an adapter that comes with it. Okay, now let's start talking about some of the stuff that's coming soon. So Neil did mention this in his meeting today, and this is actually something that we hinted at At the previous Connect, we are getting ready to launch this very soon. I mean, some of you are either as clients or resellers, you're already using Geotab direct support services through our Vegas office. The way it works today is you have to get into an agreement or an SOW with our Vegas team, and then that gives your customer direct access to Tier 1 support out of Vegas, and it's a build feature that you pay on a per device basis to Geotab to. You may have been made familiar with the different tiers of that support, either standard support versus premium, and there's been some recent changes on that lately. But we want to simplify all of that, and we want to give more universal access to support services from within My Geotab. So you will no longer have to install the My Support add-in from the My Geotab from the marketplace. You will no longer have to sign a separate agreement with our Vegas office to do that. Basically, every single customer who has access to My Geotab will potentially qualify for this service. And by that, what I mean is this will still be somewhat limited. One is you as a reseller need to give access to your customer to this service, and you do that through My Admin. So if you want some customers to have it and some not, you can pick and choose what databases it applies to. And once you've done that, once you've opted in your customer, then there's a second level of qualification that needs to be satisfied, and that is the customer, again, using or utilizing Pro Plus at a fleet level. So with not just Pro Plus, and this is the interesting part here. So roadside, for example, is Pro Plus only. You have to be on Pro Plus to utilize. With support services, we've worked with our finance team, and this is something that you may have already been in touch with our finance team on, is we've introduced support-enabled rate plans. So if you're on base and you don't want to go all the way to Pro Plus, but you still want support, then you can go on a base or a support-enabled base plan or a support-enabled Pro plan. If you are already on Pro Plus, then you don't need, it's still the standard Pro Plus price. You already satisfy. But if you are on Pro or HOS or the base plan, there are support-enabled plans that you'll be able to subscribe to. And as long as you are on those support-enabled plans or Pro Plus, we look at the total utilization within My Geotab, and the My Geotab application determines if you qualify or not. And if you do qualify, then your users can see that item in the menu on the left-hand side. Yeah?
When you say fleet-wide utilization of the support-enabled plan, do you mean each database, a given database?
Yeah, so the database, yeah.
So
Every customer.
Some customers on it and some customers not.
Correct. Yeah, so the customers that are on it would qualify. The customers that are not on it would not qualify. But like I said, it's you can, as long as they are on support-enabled plans, they don't necessarily have to be on Pro Plus. Okay, so I mean, obviously there are some corner cases that we have to handle. For example, white label customers will not see the option because obviously this is not a white labeled service today, or wouldn't be when we first launch it. If you have a customer, again, that is sensitive to this, or you prefer to provide support to, you can still opt them out of the service through My Admin. And when we do launch this, and we'll be clear about this in the announcements, and all the communication is, you as a reseller have to, there's going to be a click accept box that you have to agree to. If you do agree to it, then we automatically opt in all your customers. You can still, after the fact, go in and opt out certain customers individually, or if you reject it, then we don't opt in any of your customers. And the users themselves also will be able to, or the My Geotab users will be able to, read and accept certain terms, so they are at least so they know what it is that they're opting in for. Even though there's no financial or billing implications on it, they would have already been on a certain plan. We don't do any plan upgrades based on this. If they are on the right plans, then they would qualify and they would see the click accept box. This is also controlled through security clearance. So this is very important, and again, we'll include those details in any documentation that we release, but you have to have the right security clearance to even see the menu item in my GeoTab, and by default, only admins will be able to see that. And as an admin, once you accept the terms, you can then go and grant access to other users to be able to request support tickets or even training, or see some additional training material from within my GeoTab. Okay, regulatory plan. We're not introducing a new plan, for those who are wondering, but what we are doing is we're renaming our HOS plan. The HOS plan is a plan that we released, I think, at the last Connect, if I'm not mistaken. It sits somewhere between base and pro. It basically gives you the bare minimum data that you would need for a compliant ELD solution. You know, GeoTab Drive, for example, depends on road speed and other engine data elements that are available on the HOS plan. But it also supported IFTA. So if you were on the HOS or Pro plan or Pro Plus plan, it supported IFTA. And what we want to do now is give you also access to be able to satisfy or at least be able to work towards being compliant on the FSMA. So the FSMA is the Food Safety Modernization Act, which I believe kicked in sometime last year to certain vehicles, and I think it kicked into smaller vehicles this year in April, if I'm not mistaken. And the way we're going to be able to support that on the newly named regulatory plan is through our partner, Valor TempTrack, the Valor TempTrack solution, which is already on the marketplace. Because that is a solution that that we only give you access to, obviously, through IOXCAN. The IOXCAN has always historically been limited to the Pro Plus plan. But what we are doing today is we're going to be allowing you and your customers to use it on the HOS plan, and we're renaming that to regulatory. So that means that the regulatory plan will now support HOS, IFTA, and FSMA through our partnership with Valor on the marketplace. Obviously, the change in the name you'll see kind of trickle down to all the different documentation and maybe a little bit later also the software. But that is something that we are working on today. You'll see the announcement on this later this week. You will be able to, as of later this week, use Valor on this plan. Due to some of the regulations, some of the European regulations that are related to FSMA, we are also enhancing our logging algorithm to allow you to better control how often temperature is being logged through potentially a custom parameter that we'll give you access to through the support documentation. It won't be by default, most likely, but you'll have the choice to switch from curve logging to time-based logging with that custom parameter. So stay tuned on more information about that. And then possibly the biggest and greatest product that GeoTab will bring to market to date, and that is the Go 9. You can talk to Bobby at the Go device kiosk on the show floor, and he can give you some more details. But in brief, what the Go 9 is about, it's basically a redesign of the Go 7, Go 8 platform. For those who are familiar, in the Go 8, we wanted to offer you future-proofing of your Go product in the vehicle as a priority. We were running out of time. Obviously, a lot of the carriers were announcing end of life or a sunset of some of the legacy technology. We've seen 2G on AT&T be sunset a few years ago. We know CDMA will be, or 1X RTT will be sunset by Verizon and Sprint soon. And so will 3G technologies. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 2 to 3 years, we already start seeing some sunset plans, not just outside, not just in North America, but all over the world. So we had to bring Go 8 to market ASAP, and that gave you future-proofing of your fleet on the Go 8. But it was limited to the U.S. On some of the major carriers there. The Go 9 is an upgrade to the platform. So by that I mean improved engine management circuitry. What that will allow us to do is, again, expand our coverage of some of the engine types that are out there. But not only that, today you have to use certain adapters on some vehicles to be able to get the engine data that you want or need. With the Go 9, there will be less need for that. It will eliminate some of the interface adapters or harnesses that are needed. We're adding GNSS and the GNSS engine as opposed to just GPS. What this will give us access to, more so outside of North America eventually, is access to other satellite systems such as GLONASS and others. We can only do, I think we'll be able to do 2 at a time. So right off the bat, when we first launch this product, it'll still be limited to maybe 2 of the satellite systems, but at least we through firmware we'll be able to control what other systems we have access to. We're adding a gyrometer, which will also allow us to do better accident reconstruction, and we're enhancing our OTA updates. Something that we have done a long time ago, which really, at least personally, I think, has helped us maintain a very good quality in the field and a low churn level. Or churn rate is our ability to update our product over the air. With Go 8, we introduced updates of the modem over the air as well. So, a lot of this technology is like some of the newer LTE technologies that have allowed us to integrate LTE with the Go product are very new. And those modem suppliers, are still continuously improving and adding functionality and sort of keeping up with the carriers and vice versa. So over-the-air updates have become very important on the cellular modems, and with the Go 9, we're also going to be further enhancing that by allowing over-the-air updates of the GPS engine itself. So if our GPS supplier enhances their algorithms or fix bugs and so on, we'll be able to do that over the air. And maybe water intrusion detection. This is currently on the spec, but we are not 100% certain we will be including that. This would be really cool. It'll allow you, without having to send someone out to the field, to look in my Geotab and see, do I have a fault that indicates that there may have been some water intrusion in the product or not? And we want to be able to use that to also shut down the device safely, before it causes any further damage to the vehicle or to the engine, or as long as the product kind of gracefully shuts down when it detects that as early on as possible. I think that would be a great feature to have. But I skipped over the main feature, and really this is the highlight of why we need a Go 9. We innovate, as Geotab, we innovate with over-the-air updates. Our product is, it's a black box that connects to the diagnostic port. It's not a cool phone with a screen and features and so on. So the only reason we would upgrade the hardware is to allow us to continue to grow our code base and enhance and add features to that code base. With the Go 9, we will be able to implement algorithms that we haven't been able to implement on some of our previous platforms. We'll be able to add functionality and features that we haven't been able to in the past. Again, out of the box, when we first launched Go 9, is it going to have all these new features? Not necessarily, but at least you're further future-proofing your product, especially on new installs. There may not be a need immediately, especially if you're on Go 8, to replace to Go 9. That's not the idea. But if you are a new install, this would allow us to continue to develop features for your fleet and your vehicle for years to come, especially if that device is already going to be equipped with LTE technology and it's going to be out there for the next 7 to 10 years. We will be using that product to expand our LTE offering in other parts of the world. As you are familiar today, Go 8 is only in the US and will remain so until we bring Go 9 to market. So obviously we are trying to get Go 9 to market ASAP. We will be starting with the US and Canada, but we will then start. We are already developing our roadmap for the rest of the world on how to start replacing our Go 7 SKUs in other parts of the world like Europe, Latin America, and Asia to the Go 9. But it is a bit tricky because certifications are a very long, very lengthy process. And there's a lot involved, especially in some of the countries where the regulatory regulations are a bit tricky, and it all ties into what technologies they've deployed. So we want to try and bring LTE to the rest of the world, but in some parts of the world, the adoption of some of the LTE technologies, such as Category 1 or Cat-M or NB-IoT, are still years behind. So we will only be doing it when it makes sense. Until then, we will maintain the Go 7 product line in those markets. We're hoping to bring this to you in beta, again in Q3 of this year in the US and Canada. And we will be sharing our kind of worldwide or global expansion roadmap with you towards the end of the year as well, once we've completed the design and beta testing of this product. And finally, before we can take some questions, a couple of quick harness updates. You can speak to another team member of ours, Timur. Excuse me. He's manning the IOX and harness kiosk on the show floor. The universal harness, the 16-pin and the 9-pin harnesses, nothing major. We're just changing the connector that connects to the Go device to a right angle type connector. We have heard from some of you that that would offer them better connection security and also better navigation in the vehicle in the way the device is installed. So both on the 9-pin and the 16-pin, we're switching to that right angle connector. And then also there were some reports that in some cases people were able to actually reverse the connector and plug it in the wrong way. So that also solves that problem, and hopefully that makes the product a lot more reliable for you. The change has been implemented. I would say it's signed off. We're just working on some of the delivery dates, and we'll be making an announcement around it in due time. It shouldn't have much impact on you though. So old stock will work, new stock will work. It's a running change as far as we are concerned. And then we've also been quietly working on a ruggedized version of the 9-pin harness. Today, the 9-pin harness allows you to connect to Go Rugged, for example, which is IP67. But to do that, you had to use certain adapters that are not, or the Go device that is not. So this allows you end-to-end IP67 because it connects directly to Go Rugged. On the Go Rugged, there's an Amphenol waterproof connector that connects to the Amphenol connector on the 9-pin. Also, one of the connectors on the 9-pin comes with a cap. If it's not being used, it remains kind of shielded from any water or dust, and gives you complete IP67 connectivity. Again, this has been designed and sampled and approved. We're just waiting on production timelines, and we'll be announcing that as soon as we know more. So yeah, if you have any questions, I think you can use that link over there, or through the app you can ask some questions. I can actually go and see if any questions have come through over there. But do use the code in your app if you're participating in the challenge, or if you want to rate the stock. But oh, let's see. Wow. First question: Garmin ELD bundle, can it be used without a Go device in the vehicle, or does it still need a Go to catch trips, ignition cycles? Good question. No, it cannot be used without a Go device. So it's still reliant on the Go device, and that is because Geotab Drive itself is reliant on the Go device. So you need both. Are you working on a billing partner, one that could link Geotab billing info into a reseller's billing system automatically? I'm not sure if this is in direct relation to Garmin. Are you working on a billing partner, one that could link Geotab billing?
There is one being worked on. It's a company called FuseBill, and Neil mentioned it.
You mean on the marketplace, or?
They're talking. Yeah.
Okay.
They're coming into the marketplace. Agreements are signed, and we've
Okay.
been working with them on all the back end to automatically import my admin into the billing system.
Sounds good. Thanks, Randy. Marketplace buy now. Are there any notifications to tell reseller a customer has just purchased a solution? Email, MyAdmin Alert, and other. I believe so. I think when a solution is downloaded and they opt in and agree to the user agreement, there is a notification that goes out to the reseller. But I would have to confirm that. If you can, maybe if you are in the audience and you want to come chat to me after, I can put you in touch with the right people on the marketplace. During privacy mode, and the driver would be involved in an accident, for example, is there a way to extract information, perhaps even running an accidental reconstruction report? Yes, there is a way, but today it's limited to Geotab. Geotab would be able to help you with that if you provide us the database name and the device and the time and date in which the accident happened. Obviously, if you weren't in privacy mode at that time, then it shouldn't matter anyway. Privacy mode, does it apply only to GPS trips or also other data sources? Status data, fault data, etc. Today, it only applies to GPS-related information. Again, on privacy mode, when privacy mode is triggered by an exception rule in case of having connection issues, let me see if I can scroll down. When is the trip going to be flagged as private? At the time the exception occurred or when the exception was detected, maybe a few hours later? No, it will be, so if the data is delayed, let's say you were, your dispatcher put you in private mode, but you were offline at that time because you were out of coverage and you come back into coverage, when that data makes it up to my geotab, based on the time log that comes through with the data, we can determine if it should be hidden or not. So it'll still be hidden even if it comes after you've taken yourself out of private mode. As long as the log was taken during that time, you should be okay. And that's all on this side. Are there any other questions? So I mean, sorry, do you want to give him, do you want him to, just for the video, for the question to come out?
Sorry, just wanted to know what carriers you're going to use for the Go 9.
Yeah, so this, the same carriers that we're using on Go 8 today in the US, followed by our carriers, potentially all 3 carriers in Canada eventually. The usual suspects, I would say.
Can you elaborate on the?
Sorry, 1 second.
Can you elaborate on the accelerometer gyroscope updates coming in the Go 9?
Yeah, so again, we'll be able to give more updates on that and more details on the enhancements once we actually write the firmware that's going to take advantage of the gyrometer. But having it in there means that we have additional options to do that. It won't be I wouldn't expect enhancements the day we announce Go 9 or launch it, but later on.
Same hardware, just changes to the firmware coming, or are there
Correct.
changes to the hardware?
No, we're changing the hardware. So we're using a chip that basically allows us to do both. Yeah.
For the Tier 1 support, would there be a time where support could escalate to the reseller? Or is it basically reseller only or Geotab's Tier 1 support only?
Yeah, so let me see how I can answer that question. So your reseller will have access to the tickets created through my Geotab in my admin. So in a way, they already have access to all the tickets, even if the ticket didn't get created through them.
I see. Okay. One other question: in the Go 9, for the extra processing space you were talking about, would there be an application, for example, onboard processing of speed limit violations? Like, would you have memory space for that, or is it like those kinds of
within the
features?
Go device?
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, there are some use cases that we're looking at, like things like being able to program, let's say, a lat and long and a radius to turn on and off certain features in a zone. For that stuff, especially if you are offline, you need that stored on the Go device. It's something that we most likely wouldn't and won't be able to do on the Go 8. But yes, I think the Go 9 opens up that discussion again. But there's no decision one way or another yet. Any other questions?
Yeah, sure. In the Go 9, the compatibility with Mercedes-Benz and the ICANN protocol or Volvo will be improved?
I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest, but I can put you in touch with somebody that can answer that.
Thanks.
Just a quick question about the billing aspect of adding support. Is that something we'll be able to go into My Admin and select that ourselves and also unselect, say a customer's not satisfied with it?
Yeah, so you'll be able to, on a database level or on a customer level, opt in and opt out certain customers. And if you opt them out, then they don't even get that option in MyGeo. They don't see that option. After the fact, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Any others? All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the show.